Shall we do our top lists of 1957?
Let's.
I have a top 5 with a few honorable mentions.
Okay.
Let's get to them. A few honorable mentions. The Sweet Smell of Success. This is an Alexander McKendrick movie starring Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis, where they are both bad men in different ways and trying to take advantage of each other. People love how like slimy and nasty this movie is. I liked it, but didn't love that. But it's very famous and definitely worth checking out. Facing the Crowd is a Elia Kazan movie. We talked about him recently. Stars Andy Griffith in his only successful film role. After this, he made Onion Head, which is one of the worst movies of all time, and it destroyed his movie career. Walter Matthau's in both Onion Head and Facing the Crowd, but Andy Griffith plays this hayseed who gets found in prison by a radio producer and gets put on the air and then becomes like very popular and then very powerful and then gets into politics. And it's very relevant for today. You can find this on Criterion. It's pretty awesome. And then Kubrick's Paths of Glory is my last honorable mention. Jake, I'm going to leave it for you because I know you're going to say more about this one.
Yep.
Incredible movie.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. Probably wouldn't count on your list because it came out in the States in 58.
Yep.
But this stars Max von Sydow as a knight traveling around and talks to death. And if you've seen a knight playing chess with death, then it's not Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey. Yep. It's The Seventh Seal, which is also what the reference for Bill and Ted is. It's an incredible, probably Bergman's most iconic movie, well worth checking out. My number 4 is 3:10 to Yuma. We've talked about that a lot. Incredible Western, even better psychological thriller. My number 3 is Billy Wilder's Witness for the Prosecution. So we talked about Tyrone Power recently in Nightmare Alley. He is one of the stars of this movie where he's accused of murder. He hires Charles Lawton as his lawyer. This is really Charles Lawton's movie. And Lawton spends the entire movie working with Marlene Dietrich in one way or another to help get Power off. And then there's amazing Hitchcockian twist at the end, which I won't spoil. Elsa Lanchester is in this as Lawton's nurse, and they were married in real life, and there's all these rumors that they were each other's beards in real life. Anyway, there's like a lot of really cool stuff going on here. It's one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
But so are number 2 or number 1. Number 2 is Throne of Blood, which we've talked about quite a bit. My favorite Shakespearean adaptation, either my favorite or second favorite Kurosawa movie. An incredible, epic, crazy special effects. There's a scene that we didn't talk about, a shot of Mifune searching through the woods on his horse for the spirit a second time, and they show him like through the branches looking, and he looks so lost, and it's just like one of the coolest shots, and I'm surprised it doesn't show up on those like iconic shots lists that the people play all the time on those reels.
Yeah. Yep.
And then my number 1, no surprise, 12 Angry Men, Sidney Lumet's debut film.
Absurd.
Gotta be the best debut film of all time.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that's stronger than. I mean, it's one of the best movies ever made. So, like,
right.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he didn't write the story. This was a teleplay the year before, which is also very good. I recommend checking out. It's only an hour, and it was remade by William Friedkin, I think you're right, for Showtime.
Yep.
Also really good.
Citizen Kane's got to be up there too with best like debut films ever. But I mean, 12 Angry Men would certainly be in that conversation as well.
Right. I will always say Citizen Kane is way more accessible than people give it credit for. But 12 Angry Men is such an easy, fun, captivating watch. Anyone can watch and love 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Those are my tops.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't have any honorable mentions because I've actually only seen 5 films from this year. Like you mentioned, Seventh Seal would appear on my 1958 list. Yeah, it's terrific. Very, very cool movie. My number 5, again, not a great film, but I feel comfortable putting it in the 5 spot, is Jailhouse Rock, which we talked about it. Not great length because there's not much to say. Then my 4 through 1, these are all really tough to rank because I really loved all of these movies and I think they're all excellent. My number 4, we talked about a lot, Throne of Blood, which feels so low, but I mean, these other 3 above it, I've got 3:10 to Yuma is my number 3, but my number 2 is actually 12 Angry Men because I like Paths of Glory a little bit more. Paths of Glory is a World War I movie about is it a lieutenant, or Kirk Douglas, he's a leader in the army in World War I, and he refuses to follow orders, and then that turns into a whole kind of kicks off the plot of the movie, and it's one of the best Kirk Douglas performances. It's early Kubrick. It came before Spartacus and all that, so it wasn't included. Like when Kubrick had that big box set that came out, it wasn't included in their original links. It was only things from Lolita through Full Metal Jacket or Eyes Wide Shut. Anyway, whatever. It's one of my favorite Kubrick movies. One of the best war movies ever. One of the few World War I movies. Like I said, I think we've got this and All Quiet on the Western Front in 1917, and I don't know, those are like the big ones.
My boss actually once described this as one of the first, and he might be right, one of the first pacifist movies.
Very anti-war, yeah. If I didn't say
yeah.
anti-war, yeah, it's definitely an anti-war film.
And to have come out in 1957, even like before the even before the Vietnam War, when American military pride was still very strong. It's after the Korean War, so there's some, now there's some resentment against the military just for the never ending, like World War II, the war to end all wars. Oops, here's another one.
Like just a couple years later, yeah.
I mean, I haven't read a lot about the inspiration to making Paths of Glory. It's an amazing movie. It's less of a war movie than it is a courtroom drama,
yeah,
though.
It's really more of that. Yeah, it starts off in the war, but then quickly turns into something else.
Great list.